guys, welcome back here to the Fishing Teacher. Hope you guys are doing well, having a good day, and really appreciate you swinging by the channel here and checking the video out. And guys, one of the things I like to do here is I like to give you guys timely tips, and as far as lures and techniques that you can use right now at the time the videos come out. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite lures for the month of May, and that's a Zoom Z-Craw here. Zoom makes 3 different sizes. They make the full size one here, and a mid size, and a junior. We're going to be talking primarily about the full size Z-Craw today, when it works, how I like to rig it up, situations that it outfishes any other type of soft plastic in. And that's one of the things about it. It's like every season has a different soft plastic that works good, and sometimes it's like week by week. So we're going to dig into that in today's episode. And also, guys, I will put the Zoom Z-Craw link in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to order some Z-Craws after the video here, if you use my link, it's a good way to support the channel. They got tons of different colors. They got the full-size Z-Craw, they got the mid-size and the junior model. So much appreciated there. And also, guys, anybody interested in booking a private on-the-water lesson with me to learn how to fish a Z-Craw or any other technique, shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat. I teach techniques, any technique you want to learn about in bass fishing. We'll go down to Table Rock Lake or Stockton Lake and go over it. And I much appreciate you guys reaching out for that. Okay, Z-Craw, guys, it's been out for a while now. I'm guessing it's been out for probably 15 years. It is one of the most versatile soft plastic lures you'll ever use. Let me touch on that a little bit, then I want to talk primarily about Texas rigging and pitching and flipping it. Z-Craw is a great bait for a lot of different stuff. A lot of guys use it as a swim jig trailer. In fact, the Z-Craw is one of the favorite swim jig and bladed jig trailers. A lot of guys use it on a chatterbait. A lot of guys use it on a swim jig. The action of the tails and the flat rib body make it ideal for that. So real popular for that. One of my favorite ways to fish it is either on a football head jig or a wobble head. I catch a ton of fish on a wobble head. By far, this is my favorite bait to fish a wobble head on. And like I said, it works good on a football head jig both. I know guys that have Carolina rigged them, works really good with everything. Primarily, guys, I want to talk about Texas rigging this thing here in the month of May. Okay, here's a little bit about the mood and the personality of the fish in May. And this is one thing, guys, that it's so important. It's like when you are wanting to learn about bass fishing and get educated on bass fishing, really, I know it's not flashy and it's sort of boring to talk about seasonal movements and patterns and the moods of bass. But if you really want to get good, you have got to focus on that. It's like I can give you tips on baits like the Z-Hog and good colors, and that's going to help you out. But you have to incorporate that about knowing when and where and why to throw a particular lure. That's the only way that you're going to find fish consistently. One of the things that I have found about all my bass fishing, it comes from years of experience as far as going through different seasons to see what works on a reproducible level. And the Z-Craw is one of them. Now, here's what happens normally from what I've seen. We talked a lot about this past April, if you guys have followed the channel, about how bass like bottom type lures in April. And they like a little bit more finessey stuff. They like shaky heads, they like Ned rigs, they like wacky rigs, downsized stuff a little bit. But in May, after those fish start spawning, they still like the bottom type lures. In fact, well, they hit bottom lures and reaction lures, but one of the things you start noticing in the month of May is the size of the bait goes up a little bit. In other words, if I was using a Z-Craw Junior, the 3-inch model in April, I'm using the full-size model in May. A lot of this has to do with the fact that the fish are hungry, they're feeding up after all the rigors of spawning, water temperatures are warming up, and they just like a little bit larger presentation. That's why this Z-Craw works really good. And also there's sort of an odd dynamic in May between pitching and flipping a soft plastic creature bait like the Z-Craw and a jig. I do both, but normally what happens is if I'm fishing dirty water, like water visibility of 12 inches or less, I'm using a jig in May. But if the water visibility is a little cleaner, like say 1.5 foot visibility to maybe 4 foot visibility, I go with the Z-Craw. It's a little bit more natural looking. It comes in more color options, color varieties, and it just seems like they bite it a little bit better. Colors on the thing, I've got two different favorite colors. My favorite by far, guys, is that this is called watermelon candy. I catch a lot of fish on this. Most of the time I'm dipping the tail chartreuse. Can't go wrong with green pumpkin. Black sapphire, which is black with blue flake, works really good if the water's a little bit more, off colored, or if it's cloudy or something. But day in and day out, if you just want to try Z-Craw and you don't want to spend money on a bunch of colors, just get you a few bags of the watermelon candy. Watermelon candy is deadly in the month of May for whatever reason in a bunch of different water clarities. If the water visibility is like 1.5 feet, I'll fish the watermelon candy and I'll dye quite a bit of the tail chartreuse. But if I'm fishing like 3.5 or 4 foot of clarity, I probably won't put any dye on it. I'll leave it more natural looking, but for whatever reason, they really like it. Slip sinker on the Z-Craw, one of the things you'll hear me talking about a lot is the rate of fall when you're pitching and flipping. And every jig and every soft plastic lure that I fish, I have whittled it down a little bit to the best slip sinker size. By far, the best size of slip sinker for a Z-Craw is 1/4 ounce. I use 1/4 ounce probably 90% of the time. If you go lighter with that, you can catch fish on it. It's okay with that. But if you go lighter, a lot of times it just falls a little bit too slow. If you go heavier, it drops too fast. The way that the bait is designed with the ribs and the flat and the drag that it gets from the flapping tails, I find that the 1/4 ounce sinker falls at the rate that the fish really like. And normally I'm coupling it up with 20 to 25 pound test Seaguar and Viz X4 carbon line there. So that's my setup with it on my flipping stick. Okay, now given that, let's talk a little bit about where you want to fish this at during the month of May. That's the important thing. Depending upon the cover that you have, you're fishing really any available cover that you have. For example, if you're fishing some of the Coosa River lakes in Alabama, you might be fishing lay down trees up the river. You might be fishing some gator grass down the lake. Every lake's got different structure. If you're fishing my part of the country in Table Rock Lake, Stockton Lake, Bull Shoals, if the water's high, you might be flipping bushes. If the water's low, you might be flipping docks or lay down wood or trees. If you're fishing in the Potomac River, you might be fishing hydrilla, milfoil, or lily pads. If you're on the TVA lakes, you might be pitching it into matted vegetation or around whatever cover's there. It works good in whatever shallow cover that you're fishing. So it's not real specific with that. But the main thing with it is just fishing it. I mean, just putting it on and figuring out, if that's the bait that the fish want, and it usually is. And normally what I do when I'm trying to figure out the best flipping and pitching bait, I'll usually have like the Z-Craw on, and then I'll have something that doesn't have a flapping tail. I'll have maybe like a straight tail plastic worm. I'll have a jig, maybe, some different colors in those, but I'm trying to figure out the profile that the bait that the fish want the most that day in and day out. But I'm not saying that you can't catch them on something else. It's like, if you've got an area where you're getting some bites on a Z-Craw, yeah, you could probably go down that same stretch with a tube or a plastic worm or, a jig and still get some bites. But you need to really figure out how to maximize the bites by going to the specific bait they want. And the main thing about the Z-Craw that stands out above anything else that the fish either really like or maybe sometimes they don't like it, depending upon their mood, is the water displacement and the action of that tail. That tail, the Z-Craw tail, which is it's a patented zoom thing. It's got a very, very unique fall to it. It has a lot of action, and it has sort of a mid-range vibration to it. In other words, how the drag of that tail when it's flapping and how much water that tail pushes out is sort of in the mid-range. If you've got something like a Rage Craw or a Zoom Speed Craw, that's a lot more of an aggressive tail on there. So this is just a nice in-between mix with that. But anyway, guys, give it a try. I catch a ton of fish on it. I know that, Andy Morgan, who's, in my opinion, one of the top bass fishermen in the world, he loves that Z-Craw. He's done really good in tournaments on it. I've seen him do good in tournaments on it in Beaver Lake in April and May before. Just a good bait. So you might just want to pick up a couple packages there on that Tackle Warehouse link, and hope it helps you guys catch some good ones.